Preservation Committee meeting, and it's March 3rd, 2026. And the meeting's being recorded. My name is Ann Mazar, and I represent the Land Use Committee on the Community Preservation Committee. Dan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Dan Byer, the Parks Commission.
Yeah. Peter?
Peter Denton, Housing.
Kathy?
Kathy Schofield, Historic Commission.
Barry? Huh. Can you talk in the chat, Barry? No. Barry, you could call in too if you're having a hard time speaking. Hopefully Barry will be able to talk, and he is representing the planning board. And Kathy, did you introduce yourself?
I did.
Okay, great. And we have Jay Byer here. And why don't we have him speak first? He's going to tell us about the high school fields and the CPA funds that will be going towards that.
I am. Okay, then. So I can give you an update on where we are with the project. I'll just talk about the fields because that's all that really relates to this. We're still in the design phase. No work has started. Work won't start until probably the end of the school at the earliest. We've gone through a lot of engineering, let's put it that way. Conservation, we've got to go to conservation in Upton. We need to go to planning board in Upton for setback variances. Planning board, I think, what's planning board? We have to go to ZBA for setback variances. We got to go to the Board of Health. We need a variance for the concession stand. We have to go to Board of Health as well, I think, because we're going to connect to the sewer. We've got wetlands issues. So all of that engineering work, that's all that we've really done is design stuff right now. We were supposed to do a geotech test pits actually today, but there's a little bit of snow and you have to get out into the woods in order to do some of those test borings. So that's going to get delayed probably to the end of the month. We're hoping by then we can get out there. So the billing, any of the billing that we've gotten so far is all related to engineering, and specifically, they're not really separating out the bills saying this is for, like, this is CPA eligible or not. So I think the only way that we can really sort of allocate what is CPA eligible is to determine what percentage of the total project cost is eligible and then use it as far, use that calculation to determine that. Right now we did borrow some money, about $9 million in order to cover some of these costs right now. So there is debt service that will be in FY27. The field portion for Mendon, the total is $88,172. So it's not a lot, certainly not equal to the 100,000. And I don't know what part of that you could say is CPA eligible. I mean, I would assume all the engineering related to retention ponds, drainage, all of that kind of stuff would be eligible. I don't know about the concession stand. I don't know if that's eligible.
I think the drainage, nothing with the turf field. It can only be anything with the grass fields.
So what about drainage under the turf field?
That's pretty much nothing with turf field. They've made a ruling on that. Yeah.
So basically the square area where the turf surface is going to go would not be eligible. But there'll be drainage that will go, like, they're putting, like, I don't know what they call it, like chambers for the water to go into to dissipate down into the groundwater. I'm assuming all of the drainage from the site will be going to the same areas, whether it's under the field or not under the field. So I don't know how you'd allocate that out.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, if some of the grass fields, the drainage is going there, then a portion of it.
Yeah, because there'll be that, there'll be drainage for all of the various sites, around the fields. Now, part of this also is the backfield at Nipmuc, which we really haven't started on, and we're not going to do that until next summer. So that's a year away. We are going to be doing the fields at Misco this summer, and I think all of that should be eligible because it's all grass there. And that's really going to be involved. We have to go to conservation in Mendon, I believe. We also probably have to go to ZBA for the dugouts. I don't know if the dugouts are eligible, and then it's just, an irrigation system's going in there, and we're just regrading the whole field and making it so that it's not hard as a rock.
Is this at Misco, did you say?
At Misco, yes.
Okay.
So I think everything at Misco is eligible on the field part. At Nipmuc, the only piece is that synthetic surface. And then I assume like we're going to put a storage building up. I would assume that that's not CPA eligible. I don't know about bleachers or the track. I don't know how any of that factors in. I think what I'm going to need in order to come up with a coherent calculation is what exactly is eligible in this type of a project. And if I have that list, I can look at it. And if we determine that, let's say, I think it was around a $12 million project. Let's say we determine that 7 million of it is eligible. So then you have 7 million, what percentage of 12 million, and then we can allocate costs that way. I think that's probably about the only way to do it.
Yeah, we can send you information on what's eligible. How many grass fields are there?
At Nipmuc, there's a baseball field, a softball field, and the practice fields. I mean, if you remember your time when your kids were at Nipmuc, when you first walk down that path that goes out to the fields, and then there's a field across the bridge, that field not being touched. But that whole area where the baseball, softball, and that whole grass field that they used to practice soccer on is all going to get redone. And then at Misco, the whole field from the baseball field to the softball field, that whole side of the school there, along Mr. Meehan's property and the other property owner on the North Ave there.
Does anyone have any questions?
I mean, we're really still in design phase.
Jay, did you say there's an irrigation system going in at Misco?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I wonder if there's any available grants for like water harvesting.
Well, we have a grant, our state earmark for irrigation at Misco already. That's I think 30 or 35,000 that we can apply to it. As far as any other grants, I'm not aware of any. Maybe you guys are. I mean, anything we can do to help reduce the cost, we'd be up to doing. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Irrigation is also going in at Nipmuc on the fields that are the grass fields. The irrigation system that was put in when the school was built is about 18 to 20 inches below grade, so it's pretty much impossible. It doesn't work very well anymore. It's all plugged up and it's impossible to repair. The well's already in, so that's been taken care of. I think Daniel just drove up to the house. The well's already in at Nipmuc for all the fields. One of the wells we just put in about 5 years ago is going to end up being underneath the synthetic surface, and we're trying to figure out a way to channel that water over to the backfield across the bridge.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The dog was reading. So, but yeah, if there's anybody knows of any other grants that we can apply for, we'll apply for all of them.
I mean, the park grant, Dan's applied for several of those and gotten them for lights and whatnot.
Yeah, so we are doing lights on the synthetic surface, and that's what the geotech is being done for, because you got to make sure that the soil can support a light stanchion. But we've got some hurdles on the front field. The initial design had a couple of not mistakes, but a couple of things that we're taking into account. Sorry, the dogs are excited to see somebody. So the field is getting turned. There's a track with the bleachers. They wanted to put them on the Pleasant Street side. That's within the 50-foot setback. A couple of the light stanchions are within the 50-foot setback. So there's a couple of things like that we're going to have to kind of work on, that we're still in the fit. We still have to go to all the various boards in Upton on all of that stuff. And hopefully that's all happening in the next month.
Peter or Barry, do you have a question?
No, I'm good. Oh,
Nice to hear you, Peter.
Yeah, and Barry, I guess, got through on his phone.
Yeah, he said his mic isn't working. I think I saw a post on the chat.
Oh,
I think that's
Okay.
him on the phone now.
yeah,
I went to the phone instead. Can you hear me now?
yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
So I guess what we can do is I can send you what's eligible, you
Okay.
can figure out the percentage and then tell us the percentage. And so then we'll know what to ask for at the town meeting.
Right. I mean, my understanding was that the town was going to appropriate, I think it was 100,000 like annually that was going to go into a special account to be used to offset debt service as, you know, as we can. I don't know the town process of how they're going to do that, like what you and I were talking about this morning. That's a town issue. That's not ours. I mean, I know we're certifying our budget next Monday night, so this will be part of the certification is the, you know, outside the levy debt service on the initial borrowing. We will be borrowing again, probably in this summer, a short-term note to get through most of the project because we're not going to borrow all the money until we know exactly what it costs. So we only borrow what we needed.
So, I mean, so once the project gets going, which you'd be asking for money this year, you don't think that we should just pay the amount that you need?
Yeah, no,
Each year?
whatever percentage is you know, can be allocated towards CPA is what should get paid. We won't have any other debt service other than what we already know about for next year. If we do borrowing at short term, like let's say in July or August, we need to get some more cash into, it's going to be a bond anticipation note. It'll be interest only, it'll be minimal cost, and it's basically to get you through the project. So it's short-term borrowing just to get through the project. And then once you're all done and your costs are all done, the project's complete, you know exactly what it costs, then you borrow what you needed, pay off the short-term note. But as far as like this year, like this for FY27, it's 88,000. I doubt that all of that's CPA eligible based on whatever criteria you send me. So whatever percentage we come up with, we would say that's how much it is, and that's what I would expect or would hope that the town could use to offset, you know, the tax rolls.
Yeah, I think we committed to up to 100,000.
Right.
So, so I mean, I don't know if we should vote to set 100,000 aside in case another year, you might need more than 100,000. Do you think that might be the case?
That's really hard for me to say right now. You know, to determine exactly how much the field's going to end up costing is pretty hard at this point because we still have a bunch of hurdles just to get the design approved.
I'm not sure if it matters. It's not like we have use it or lose it money. So if we don't spend 100,000, we just know that we have a little buffer next year if there's more.
All right. So maybe we should just vote the 100,000, but then you could let us know what percentage it would be this year, just so that we can keep track of it. Obviously.
Yeah, if you send me that list and then I can sort of, you know, I'll calculate a percentage based on that. I'll send it back to you to review and, you know, say, yeah, this makes sense or it doesn't make sense. Because ultimately I need to create a spreadsheet that does these calculations so I can just put in a number. It's going to do all the math for me and for my predecessor in a while.
Could we, maybe this committee's vote should be up to 100,000 and then the motion can be anything up to 100. That way we don't have to worry about, if, you know, assuming everyone's good with that number. Then you got to vote. I mean, you got some time, but.
I'd be fine with that.
Okay. Peter and Barry? Or does someone want to make the motion?
Yes. Dan? I like Danny's idea.
All right, does someone want to make a motion?
So move. Second.
No, Peter, you got to say all the words. You can't just say so moved.
What
So-
Danny said.
Any words?
100,000 this year to set aside
Up
for the
to.
debt service for the fields then, okay.
Up to, yeah.
Up
Up
to
to.
100 and see what the final number actually is.
I'll second it.
So I guess I just want to clarify. So at this town meeting, are we going to end up voting 100,000 to set the funds aside so that they're there, or are we going to only set aside the portion of the 88,000 that
I think
they'll need this
Didn't you
year?
already said 100,000?
I think you need to talk to Jeremy because I would think that the action at town meeting is going to use that 88,000 to pay the bill directly, not put it in another account. But I don't know the mechanism of how that happens. Yeah, I don't know. Did we already take a vote, or did this committee just vote the concept? I don't know if we voted at town meeting.
I thought
We
you
did vote it.
You voted 100,000 last year in FY26, right? that
Yeah, I
supposedly
think-
has already been set aside
So-
somewhere.
If that's the case, maybe we should just keep putting 100,000 into this extra account, and then they can do whatever mumbo jumbo to use it.
I think that as a committee, we voted up to 100,000 per year, but at the town meeting, that we would do it for several years. What was it, 20 years or something, however long the debt
Yeah.
is. But I don't know. I have to go back and look on the vote. All right, so
That's the. Let's say if that's the case, maybe, I mean, if we don't want to take a vote if we're not sure, then I don't know.
You've got a place on, this is going to be part of the budget itself, or is it a separate article on a town meeting?
I think, so I have to think back to how we used to do this when we had debt, because we haven't had any for 2 or 3 years. We certify our budget, and it's part of our budget that we send to the towns. I don't know if they vote the operational, like within the levy as one vote, and then the debt service as another vote, or if they just do it all as one shot. Because in the past, the debt service came out of the, it was just, they assessed it differently, but it came out of the same pool of money. So that's probably a question that we'd have to talk to Jeremy about, how it needs to be structured as far as the motions at the town meeting.
I do know for other debts like the police station and Pheno property, we would pay different amounts every year. And it changed because whatever the schedule was for the debt service.
Yeah, it usually, you're paying principal on a regular basis. The interest usually lowers as the debt goes on. So that,
Mhm.
I mean, I can have a conversation with Jeremy about how the motions would be on the warrant itself and whether they want to do the debt service separately or not. I'd love to tell you I remember how it used to be, but I don't.
Yeah, I think I know there was 2 schedules for those 2 projects that we paid, and a portion was CPA and then a portion was the town, and then we paid that off. For the 2026 at the last town meeting, we just voted for that 1 year. We didn't say that it would be over like 20 years or whatever. But you don't even know how long it will be at this point, right?
Well, it's going to be a 20-year debt ultimately. Like the one that we've already borrowed, I think ended up like 19 and a half. I forget how they structured it.
Okay.
The next one will be, 20 years. So when the town votes to approve a debt exclusion, they approve us borrowing the money and agree to pay it back, and they can assess it outside the levy. They don't really set a time limit that it's going to be 10 years or 20 years or whatever. Because I know when we did some work at Misco years ago, we did the roof and some boilers. We originally were talking about a 20-year debt. We ended up doing it in 10 years because it was such a low amount. The project came in way under bid. We figured, let's get it paid off in 10 years instead of 20.
Okay, so I'll talk to Jeremy also about how he wants to do that, but it sounds like this vote will be for $100,000 for FY27 then. Does that sound right, Peter, Kathy, and Barry?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Basically, the vote the vote that matters is the one on the town meeting floor for everybody to vote the money.
Right,
Best thing we can do here is recommend a number.
right. I mean, logically, I would say I'm assuming that CPA fund has money that they can allocate toward this. I would probably be trying to appropriate the same amount, because maybe after it's all done, maybe the total amount isn't going to be, 100,000 a year, 20 years, that's what, $2 million, if my math is good. The debt's probably going to be higher than that ultimately, but it may not be, so you may build up a reserve in case it is higher 1 year, or you can decide how to do it. I mean, I thought that was the intent, was to try to reduce the tax liability.
Dan, were you going to say something?
Nope.
All right, so any more discussion? All right, so we're voting on a motion to set aside $100,000 for FY27 for the high school fields to help pay the debt. Let's do a roll call. Do we have to do a roll call vote?
Yeah.
we'll do it. Yeah, because we're remote. Okay, Peter,
Yeah, yes. Pat,
Barry,
whatever you want to say.
I didn't hear it, Barry.
Ida roll aye.
Kathy,
Kathy, I.
Dan,
Dan, I.
and Mazar, I. Okay, thanks for coming tonight.
Okay, are you taking the rest of the meeting here?
Guess.
Okay, I'll switch seats. I'll let him have control of this thing for now. If you
Okay,
have any questions, anybody has questions, just email me and ask me, or have Daniel ask me or whatever, but I'm easy to find.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, they're gonna go with me now because it's cookie time, right?
It's
Yes, it's cookie time.
cookie time. Okay, did you get a chance to look at the minutes?
I'll make motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Second,
Okay,
Nope.
and any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, Dan,
I.
anybody, Peter,
aye.
Kathy,
I.
Barry,
Ida roll aye.
Mazar, aye. All right, thank you. So did you have a chance to look at the items for the annual town meeting? I don't think we necessarily have to vote on them yet, but it would be good to agree. I think I put some land use ones in there, which I didn't mean to, but the Community Preservation Committee ones. The first one is the police debt exclusion. And then there's setting aside the money for the different categories. The Affordable Housing Coordinator, I think we agreed on that we wanted to support that again, and we were going to do the 15,000 range. Is everybody kind of in agreement on that?
Who's doing the
And-
housing coordinator job now?
Excuse me?
Who's doing the housing coordinator job now?
Wait a second, I got these earphones. Wait, could you say that again?
I said, who's doing the housing coordinator job now?
Dylan Lindholm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, this is like paying a portion of the salary
right.
for that
Yes.
position.
Of the town planner salary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and she's definitely been working on it and is interested in taking on this role, which would be nice to have someone that's kind of full-time and can work on it, this part of it part-time.
Well, she does a good job.
Mhm. Then we just talked about the fields. And then the other item I have here is that the Denton CR purchase account has money left in it. And the idea is I didn't word the motion correctly, and that it was supposed to be for maintenance and trails and whatnot. And so we need to transfer that money into I was gonna call it the Oakenwall Farm Preserve Trail and Maintenance account. And that would be around $119,000. And that would be for like, in perpetuity, I guess, but.
I'll make a
So
motion
any-
for that.
What, Barry?
I'll make a motion for that.
For the Oakenwall one?
To supply the funds for the open wall account.
Okay.
maintenance
And I
account.
guess probably Peter should excuse himself. We still have a quorum without him.
Yeah, I'm
so
gonna
is there-
abstain.
Okay.
He's just got to saying, that's all.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, Dan,
Dan, I.
Peter,
Abstain,
Kathy,
Kathy, I.
Barry,
Ida roll aye.
Mazar, aye. All right, I guess we could vote on the, well, we did vote on the high school one. do you want to vote on I don't think we voted on any of these. Did we at the last meeting?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think we made any. No, we didn't vote on it. Okay. So would someone like to make a motion on the part-time affordable housing coordinator?
I'll make that motion to
Okay.
put the in that account.
Second,
Second,
any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
aye,
Kathy,
Kathy, I.
Barry,
Ida roller eye.
and Mazar, aye. Then we're dividing the money into the different categories. The total is that I took the total that we received last year from the tax levy, the CPA tax levy, and then the money that the state gave us, and the total was $664,400. And so that would be divided into the 10%, 65%, and the 5%. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second?
second,
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
aye,
Kathy,
I.
Barry,
Ida roller eye.
Mazar, aye. Okay. And then the police, I'm not exactly sure what the amount is. I'm waiting to hear back from Tracy, which I don't think I have heard. Just looking. Let's see. Yeah, no, I haven't heard back from her, so we can vote on that later, but we can put it on the warrant. And so that's all I have for the town meeting. I mean, the warrant is still open, so if people, come up with an item, we can add it.
Did you, on this thing, you said something about the passive recreation plan? Did we already talk about that?
Well, I was gonna talk about that separately because
Okay. That's not a town meeting vote.
I don't know, we voted administrative funds, and so what I wanted to do is, well, let me see.
That's fine.
So,
We can get to it.
okay, so we're done with the warrant articles, so
Yeah,
the
I
next
think
item.
so.
What?
Sorry, I know there's some stuff for historic, but I think we're just not ready with actual quotes that it'd be better to wait and bring, nothing's critical. It's just a matter of bringing things that are fully completed. But I think we were looking at trying to get a quote to move the weights and measures to town hall, which won't be astronomical, and then potentially some work on Only Cook once we determine if there's major work or minor work. I think those are the big items.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess we'll assume they're not gonna be in the annual town meeting, excuse me, but.
I would
if
say,
you-
I mean, unless, yeah, it's just a matter of trying to get quotes and get stuff together and figure it out. I don't think we're gonna have stuff in time by May, so, and same with the
Okay.
parks, I think we're good with parks right now. We have enough projects to work on that. We'll get those done and then circle back in the fall.
Okay. I had a
So,
question. Oh, what, Kathy?
Oh. I just wanted to add that some of them will not last a whole lot longer. Like, for example, treating for powder post beetles. Dan, did we
So
figure
that's all
out?
stuff we can just do ourselves. We just need to get physical access to the building, and it needs to not be under 3
Yeah.
feet of snow.
Yeah, we've been
Um,
trying to dig out the building for a couple of weeks just to get somebody in there. So
I had talked to Jeremy, so the maintenance stuff, there's a town line item for maintenance as well, but we have our historic line, so the pest control will be a couple $100. We can just do that.
okay, all right, yeah, just because
Um,
they tend to
Yeah.
lay their eggs in the spring. So
So we should do that before it thaws out.
yeah,
And then
right.
and then get Sean in there and find out if it's a cheap fix or an expensive fix.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I just think we should just kind of table that and just keep it in the back of everybody's mind that, if we can get the work done, it would be great. And if we have to wait, we wait.
Can you use the funds that were set aside for the records room? For that?
No, this is only Cook.
Oh, only Cook, right, sorry.
Yeah. Actually, so that if you wanted, so the records room, we did connect with Brennan. I guess he had a cancellation, so they are going to come back and hopefully get the floor done and the stuff inside, so that's stabilized. I think the gutters need a little bit more research because there's a preservation restriction, and we need to talk to the state about them, but at least get the floor put back down with the money that's left.
Okay. I don't think there's a historical preservation restriction on the records room. Is that
There
true,
is.
Sandy? There is.
We had
So
to as part of the grant,
So who holds it?
the state.
So Mass Historic?
Yeah, maybe it was just Kathy. I can send you those emails too. There was like 300 emails, but I don't know who was on what anymore.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's the Mass Historical Commission. Is that who it would be, Kathy?
Yeah, we've been reaching out and talking to Michael Steinitz and Paul Holtz just to get all of that paperwork together so we can have it on file.
Great.
And also like the nomination for the only cook shop, which I may or may not include any preservation restriction.
So, and the only cookhouse, is it on the National Register?
It is.
Okay. For the sake of that CPA plan, I'm gonna say that it's on the National Register. And then the record room, okay, now I know it
Yeah,
has
that's
the
a condition
restriction
of the
on
grant. They made us do it.
it. Okay.
Similar, same as CPA requirements for the land and stuff. So
Yeah,
they
on
want
the
to.
police,
So go ahead.
I was gonna say on the police station, I was just gonna say that it's in the Mendon Center Historic District as the.
Yeah, I mean, it is in it. So that's true. The exterior of that building, which is really the only part we care about now, is at least somewhat under it's within the local historic district. So there is some protections on it. Maybe that's enough. We should
I was
find
gonna
out.
put it in the plan and see what they
Yeah.
say.
Because I think that's all that's left. Everything inside's been renovated. It was just the facade and those replica doors and the brick.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's the only questions I had. Peter, were you
Yeah,
gonna say something? Oh,
Oh,
no. Okay, what, Dan?
if we don't need to do a full preservation restriction of that building, that would be great because that's a lot of work that if it's not necessary, let's focus it on the Amadon Inn and the properties that really need it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so see what we were, right. Okay, I'm not sure why that came up, but I guess Kathy, you just brought it up. So if you wanted CPA funds and you wanted to be in the annual town meeting about the post powder beetle, what's it called?
Yeah, powder post beetle.
Powder post beetle. Just let us know, and then we can always put a placeholder on the, for the warrant, but.
Okay, all right.
Otherwise,
I mean, ideally, if we were to do exactly what's needed at this moment, it would be paint the exterior of the cook shop. It would also include fixing the drainage issue around the front door, because the front door is starting to rot away, and treating for the powder post beetles.
All right, well, we're gonna assume that it's nothing for the annual town meeting warrant unless you get back to us. And I guess historic does have some money so that you could, if it ends up, you need to
Yeah, I think
do that, you can.
Yeah, because I think pest control really is going to fall into maintenance. That is not necessarily something that CPA can pay for,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a more comprehensive. If there's a problem with the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
or like we did the record room, we need to put drainage in. And then the painting, We've had a couple Eagle Scouts reach out, but I don't know, that may be too much for that type of a project.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, depending on what the recommendation is and what the preservation restriction is. I mean, hopefully we don't have to get too deep into what kind of paint is used, because when we did the original painting on the building, we didn't follow any, particular path. Not like we would have done with the town hall or, so hopefully we don't have those restrictions to contend with.
Okay. Right. So the next item is the Conway School, which I think I mentioned last time that the Denton property or the Oakenwall Farm Preserve, as part of the closing, we need to put together a passive recreation plan or for the purchase of the conservation restriction. And we need some help on that. And the Conway School, they have student projects where they can help us put together a plan where they would analyze the property, look at the plants, consider the rare species that's on it, figure out where trails could go, what would be needed. And I said that in talking about with Metacomet Land Trust and Isabella, we were thinking that like 15,000 would be, the amount of money would set aside. It actually cost the school 26,000. And so, and we have the money in the Denton account. But I was wondering if maybe we could make a vote that up to 26,000 could be used on that. So,
I'm fine with that. I think it would help
you
to,
want-
so what is, sorry, what is a, so a path, what is
Yeah,
a
I'm good
passive
with that.
recreation plan?
well, to get the 600,000 from the Nature Conservancy, they required that we put one together. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the conservation restriction. And the conservation restriction actually refers to this passive recreation plan and that we don't have. And so that's what we need to
Okay.
put together and would work with like Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. We'd work with Conservation, Metacomet Land Trust. We have like 6 volunteer land stewards that are interested in helping out. So it'd be like a whole big project. And that would guide us on how we can move forward with the property.
Yeah, that's a
Kathy?
great plan.
Would someone want to make a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
Second,
second.
okay. Any more discussion? All right. Let's vote on that. Dan,
Aye.
Kathy,
I,
Barry,
Aye.
Peter,
Abstain.
and Mazar, aye.
Excuse.
All right, the next item is to discuss the CPA plan. So I sent you draft copies. And if you have any comment on it, let me know tonight. Or look it over when you get a chance just to make sure the information looks good. And I figured what we have, we'll send that in. It took a while to do those spreadsheets and pull all that information together. And some of the other CPA plans from other towns like go on forever, but I think they must have had consultants that helped them do that. But I figure why don't we, hand it in, see if that's enough for them. And if not, then we can, work on it more.
Who does this go to? The state or the coalition?
Coalition. Mhm. Yeah, I went to a workshop a couple years ago and they said, and every town should have a CPA plan. And all of us kind of like looked like, several of us were like, what? Because I think a lot of the towns that got on to the CPA really early on, like Mendon, it wasn't required, but now it is. And so anyways, so we, want to, follow, what they're requesting. And so, we put it together. Mike Goddard, he pulled a lot from the master plan because we've done so many other reports and put all that information in it. And then I worked on the spreadsheets and just pulling it together, but hopefully it'll be enough.
And when
pretty
did we
comprehensive.
adopt the CPA? When did we vote that in?
It
Do
was,
you
it was
remember?
like 2004. We were like one of the
Oh.
first towns.
Wow, okay.
That's why the money has been so good because for the first several years, it was 100% match. And so we, got in the ground floor and it was very beneficial to Mendon.
Absolutely. When I wrote the CDBG, I thought the work was done through the community development block grant on I think it was the town hall roof, but I don't
Oh.
believe that I'm not sure. This would
So-
have been back when Dale Plow was,
Yeah. I mean, I think the only funding we got was the grant. I don't think there was other funding because that was what I was trying to list on the spreadsheet.
right.
So you don't think, did funding come from that CB, whatever that you had listed?
I thought so.
Oh.
But I'd have to go back and look at the records and see who ended up paying for that.
If you
But
could, if you could look into that, that would be super helpful.
Oh,
Because
you
that's
bet.
important information, like if the money wasn't Mendon from the Mendon budget or CPA. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
And what's the initials again? Or what's the
Um,
organization?
Community Development Block Grant.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if you could let me know about that.
You bet.
All right. That's all I have. Anything else? I get everything? Oh,
I'm
I know,
good.
one more thing. The AG did approve our CPA bylaws, so we can have an alternate on there. And so when, like in June is when the new appointments happen, so I thought that at that time we could, let people know that the position's open. Like to the general public.
Oh, that's
Yes.
good.
Has there been any interest or?
Move to adjourn.
I don't think people know that it's there, that's available, but what'd you say, Peter?
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Oh.
He's in no hurry.
Yeah, Peter, okay, Peter made the motion. Second,
I second.
okay. All those in favor? Dan,
Dan,
Aye.
aye.
Peter,
Aye,
Kathy,
excuse me.
Barry?
I had a roller eye.
Okay, and I'm gonna say aye, but I'm gonna stop recording, but I just have a question for you, so can you stay on for 1 second? It's not related to
Okay.
CPA, but, so I'm gonna stop the recording.